After Sacramento, I wanted a professional opinion on what really goes on in the brain when cannabis is consumed. Dr. Michael Kuhar, the author of The Addicted Brain and neuroscientist professor at Emory University, agreed to shed light on some of the negatives.
Well, the way drugs work in the brain is by acting at receptors. Receptors are small molecular sites, and it's as though the drug is like a finger and the receptor is a switch. So when your finger hits the switch or when the drug hits the receptor, something happens. There's a change. And that in general is how drugs work. Now the receptors are already in the brain, and they're there for naturally occurring processes. So all drugs that are addicting and abused interact with systems in the brain that are already there. They do it in a different way, so the effects are different. You get behaviorally, you feel good, you get high, you can feel euphoria. So that's the general story. I think some people take it seriously as a harmful drug. Okay, some people do. But I think that the momentum of the medical marijuana movement and the momentum of the recreational marijuana movement leave the impression that it's not a very big problem. Now we know that smoking marijuana can create problems. We don't fully understand how often that happens, we just don't have the data.
Mm-hmm.
But it does create problems. Some data say that 9% of heavy marijuana users become addicts. Now 9% is a big number when you're talking about a negative problem. Would you go to a grocery store and buy food there where you had a problem 9% of the time? That's almost 1 out of 10 times. You wouldn't go back to that store. So the level and the frequency of problems are big enough so that people should pay attention, and they're big enough that people should know about them. Now, when you hear in the newspaper about a state passing a marijuana law, medical marijuana, is there any discussion of the problems? Is there a discussion of the fact that if you drive under the influence, your likelihood of you're going to have an accident goes way up? Are you told not to operate heavy machinery like a chainsaw? See, all of these things I think are missing. And some marijuana plants that are on the street for sale have been tested. Some have turned up with mold contamination. Some have turned up with insecticide contamination. Other marijuana samples have turned up with other drugs mixed in with them. So because there's no regulations, there's no testing standard in that, you don't know what you're getting, okay?